What does smoking do? What does alcohol do? What does a sedentary lifestyle do? Well, it actually not only causes more inflammation in your body, which is a setup for all kinds of cancers, including colorectal cancer, but alcohol, smoking, sedentary lifestyle, and eating ultra processed foods with additives, preservatives, they actually suppress your immune system. Okay. And so if you don't have a good immune system, your body is compromised in one of its most important health defense systems against cancer. Now, I wrote about this in my book, Eat to Beat Disease. All right. You might have seen this. If you haven't, this is a book that's not about disease, it's about health. But there's a lot in here about what you can do to lower your risk of cancer, including colorectal cancer. There's some new developments that I think are very, very exciting, and that's immunotherapy, immune therapy. So what is immunotherapy? Well, immunotherapy is a treatment that it's not chemo. It's a treatment that actually activates your own immune system to go after the cancer, right? It activates one of your body's own defenses, which is your immune system. Now, in my book, Eat to Beat Disease, I write about your body's 5 health defense systems: angiogenesis, your stem cells, your gut microbiome, which can lower inflammation as a way of fighting cancer, your DNA protection, and your immune system. And your immune system is literally an army of super soldiers that patrols your body at all times looking for trouble. When I say looking for trouble, they are like cops on a beat, policemen cruising through the neighborhood, making sure there is no trouble, but they're looking for trouble. If they spot it, they'll right to the site and they'll take out the problem. And that problem in your body could be a microscopic cancer. All right. So your immune system is responsible for spotting and knocking out little tiny microscopic cancers long before they can grow a blood supply to become a problem. Now, I can tell you, the blood supply issue is a really major one. All right. Now, I was trained in a lab that studied blood vessels and tumors. And it turns out if you prevent blood vessels from touching a tumor, which is what your body tries to do, it can't grow. Okay. It can get about to 2 to 3 millimeters in diameter. That's about the size of the tip of a ballpoint pen. Okay. Then it can't get any bigger because it doesn't have oxygen. There's no blood vessels feeding it. It doesn't get nutrients. All right. You need air and you need food in order to grow. So the cancer sits there like a small microscopic head of a pin size tumor, and your body controls it that way, and naturally anti-angiogenic. All right. Now what happens? Your immune system wings by, spots that little tiny abnormal cells, takes it right out. All right. That's actually how your body controls it. So if there's a cancer that's already grown, we can give medications for colorectal cancer that cut off the blood supply. One of them is called bevacizumab, or also known as Avastin. It cuts off the blood vessels feeding. It's approved for colorectal cancer. Also works for brain tumors, ovarian cancer, cervical cancers, lung cancers, a number of other cancers. It all actually has a benefit by cutting off the blood supply. What we found in the lab is that when you cut off the blood supply of a tumor, it can't grow. In the lab, there are research studies that have shown that if you prevent that blood vessel, the tumor from ever getting a blood supply, it can't grow. But in an experiment, if you allow blood vessels to reach and touch and start feeding tiny microscopic cancer, you know what? It can grow 16,000 times in size in just 2 weeks. So angiogenesis out of control. So think about blood vessels gone wild. You've heard of girls gone wild. This is blood vessels gone wild. Feeding a cancer can cause explosive cancer growth. That's why anti-angiogenic treatments are a very important foundation now for treating colorectal cancer and other types of cancer as well. Now, I started talking about immunotherapy, and that actually is also important because the other knockout punch naturally in your body is your immune system. So immunotherapy jacks up your own immune system, all right? And when your immune system is stronger, it's like not just 2 cops and a patrol car in a neighborhood. Now you get the whole army, the whole entire police force is out. Now you've got a really, really strong army in order to be looking out for and capturing and going after those bad guys, which are your cancer cells. So immunotherapy, it is literally a transformative revolution in oncology, in the treatment of cancer. By getting your own immune system to wipe out cancer, you're able to achieve something that we only dreamed of before, which is to take the most natural process, your own immune system, raise those shields of that defense in order to be able to knock out the cancer. And by the way, we've actually been able to find that when you actually have immunotherapy, your own immune system working in the best possible way, you can take people with stage 3 and even stage 4 cancer. That's like end stage, game over, no win situation cancer. All right. And you can, with your own immune system jacked up, you can actually tackle that cancer and you can turn stage 4 to stage 0. It is not happening for everybody yet. We have a lot of work to do to figure out in research how to make more people respond. But we're beginning to discover that if you actually give people with colon cancer who are going to respond to immunotherapy, you can really have a dramatic response. There's a number of people out there on social media that are talking about their stories on immunotherapy. One of the most important ones are called checkpoint inhibitors. You've probably heard some of them talked about on commercials like Keytruda. The actual drug name is called pembrolizumab. But these checkpoint inhibitors, actually, they pull the cloak off of a cancer so your immune system can spot the cancer that's been trying to hide from your immune system, and then your immune system goes after it. In order for immunotherapy to work, these checkpoint inhibitors, we know that one marker that you look for is when you get the tumor biopsy, you send it away, you're looking for markers that would suggest that you're going to benefit from immunotherapy. So there's markers like microsatellite instability. The tumor is very unstable. It's going to be more susceptible to immunotherapy. There are targets called PD-1 and PD-L1. Those are markers that the pathologist will look for after getting the biopsy, the surgical specimen. And these are things that you should ask for. If you're being diagnosed with cancer, colon cancer, but other cancers, you should ask your doctor, has my tumor been sent away to see if I can be treated with immunotherapy? And for the checkpoint inhibitors, you're looking for MSI, microsatellite instability, high levels of that, MSI-H, looking for markers that suggest the tumor's cloaking itself, PD-1, PD-L1, all right? Those are some of the signals that your cancer might be amenable to immunotherapy. Your gut microbiome. Now, we already started talking about the gut microbiome. Healthy bacteria lowers inflammation, improves your metabolism, actually puts you in a better mood, the gut-brain axis as well. And a good, healthy gut bacteria lowers the risk of many different types of diseases, including cancer. We think that abnormal gut flora, gut bacteria, unhealthy neighborhood, we call it dysbiosis, may wind up being one of the contributors, one of the factors in cancer that's been hidden in plain sight all these years. So now there's a lot of research looking at that. So what are the foods that actually can help your gut microbiome? Foods with polyphenols, colorful foods, whole plant-based foods. When you go to the produce section of the grocery store, the farmer's market, all those colorfuls, bell peppers, berries, all the different colorful greens that are out there, packed with polyphenols, all right? Those actually are really help the growth of healthy bacteria. But dietary fiber is particularly important. In fact, one study showed that for every 5 to 6 grams of dietary fiber, which is the amount you'd find in a medium-sized pear, if a patient with melanoma is getting treated with immunotherapy, it reduced mortality by 30%. Whole plant-based foods, and that's fruits and vegetables, nuts and legumes, herbs and spices, they all have the polyphenols that actually feed your gut microbiome, healthy gut bacteria, which then lower inflammation, also activates your immune system. You can cut down on or cut out eating processed meats. You can actually have a healthier lifestyle by avoiding excess alcohol, don't smoke, all right, cut down drinking, stay physically active, lower your stress. All right, that seems to be one of the contributing factors to developing cancers as well. Listen, this is a tall order, right? There's a lot of things in your life you got to control. You can't control everything. But when it comes to using food, we got to eat 3 times a day. I'm just telling you, there's a way to actually eat more dietary fiber, more polyphenols. And by the way, coffee and tea also lower the risk of developing certain forms of cancer, including colorectal cancer as well. Green tea contains polyphenols called catechins that are powerful ways to cut off the blood supply to cancer. I write about this in my book, Eat to Beat Disease. If you haven't read it, I'd recommend the book to you. It's got a ton of cancer preventing, cancer starving foods in there. Coffee also has chlorogenic acid, which also lowers inflammation and is also cancer starving as well. Vegetables that actually have cancer starving properties, brassica vegetables, so broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, arugula, isothiocyanates. These are sulforaphanes, natural chemicals that can actually cut off the blood supply feeding at cancer and also lower inflammation. Beans, legumes, white beans, black beans, pinto beans, chickpeas, soybeans, edamame, all of those actually are a rich source of dietary fiber. Olive oil, extra virgin olive oil contains polyphenols like hydroxytyrosol, oleocanthal. Those also lower inflammation and have cancer-starving properties as well. And omega-3s, seafood with healthy omega-3s. Now, we used to think it was only salmon or lower on the food chain like anchovies and sardines, mackerel. But in fact, even cod and halibut and even shrimp and shellfish like mussels and clams, they also have healthy omega-3s. Omega-3 fatty acids actually cut off the blood supply to cancers, anti-angiogenic, lowers inflammation. All of this can contribute to lowering your risk of developing cancers, including colorectal cancer. So these are very important little tips that can actually make, with food, that can make the drugs that are the cutting edge of cancer therapy work even better. That's not food versus medicine. That's food and medicine. And I'm a big believer that the right medicine for the right person at the right time can be life-saving and is absolutely important for the medical community to use to help patients. But what patients do for themselves when they're not at the doctor's office and at home, looking in the pantry or at the stovetop or looking in the fridge, that can be absolutely vital for helping your body's health defenses get stronger so your own body is able to amplify whatever it is the drugs are designed to do. All right? Very, very important thing. Immunotherapy, get an infusion for these checkpoint inhibitors, get every 3 weeks or so. You can get it alone. You can combine it with chemo. Sometimes you can double up the immunotherapy. People are really trying to figure out how to do this really, really well. We don't know how to make it happen for everybody, which is really one of the huge challenges in cancer research today. But we're beginning to have some clues. One clue is that you need to have a healthy gut microbiome. Remember, your gut microbiome, these 39 trillion bacteria that live in your gut, in your colon, in the cecum, which is a pouch in your colon, actually do really good things for us. They lower inflammation, which is really, really important, help improve our metabolism. The gut and brain are connected. They even help us be in a better mood. But here's the thing. There was a research study that was done in 2017 looking at people that were getting, cancer patients who were getting immunotherapy, these checkpoint inhibitors. And what was found is that there were people that responded, meaning that they did really well. Their immune system jacked up and knocked out the cancer. And there were people who didn't do so well, all right? And they were non-responders, okay? And nobody understood why. And when the research, which was performed at the Institute Gustave Roussy by my colleague, Dr. Laurence Zittvogel, looked at the differences between responders and non-responders, you know what she found? She found there were bacteria that made the difference, all right? It wasn't genetics, it wasn't lifestyle, it was a bacteria. And one of the bacteria that was discovered, I'm sure you've heard me talk about this before, is called Akkermansia muciniphila. Akkermansia muciniphila. And in that study, which was published in the journal Science, the patients who had Akkermansia tended to respond to immunotherapy. Very important. Single bacteria can make the difference between responding, and the people who didn't have it tended not to respond. Man, is that an important finding. Like, it was a jaw-dropping finding because we started to realize just how powerful our gut bacteria might actually be. Now, in 2017, there weren't really any probiotics you could take. And so the way the research was conducted was the researcher, Dr. Zittvogel, took the Akkermansia from patients who responded and transplanted it in the lab to animals who didn't have Akkermansia and who weren't responding to immunotherapy in the lab. And guess what? When you transplanted the human Akkermansia to the animal, boom, the animal would begin to respond to immunotherapy. That's a pretty good piece of evidence, that this bacteria becomes really important. Now, how do you grow Akkermansia naturally? It's naturally a healthy gut bacteria. We know that you can give allagitannins. You can eat foods with allagitannins like pomegranate, like dried cranberry, like Concord grape juice. And there are other bioactives that we're beginning to discover can also grow Akkermansia. Oatmeal can grow Akkermansia, whole grain, chili peppers. The stuff you put on a pizza, those dried chili flakes, they have been found to stimulate the growth of Akkermansia. Chinese black vinegar, that's the kind of vinegar they serve in soup dumplings. That has been shown to grow Akkermansia as well. We don't have all the answers of how to do everything for Akkermansia, and now you can take a probiotic as well. Hey, if you like that video, then you're going to love this one. Check it out.